Welcome back, audience, to another one. Just making sure that your face doesn't wiggle. There we go. All right, cool. So check this out. Oh, first of all, I don't think I'm calling it alchemical hypnotherapy because I just saw the video on YouTube. Like, I've never liked that word, therapy, but um, but now I don't think I even like it in a hypnotherapy. Whoa, there was some explosion here. But now I don't think even I like it there because people are just trashing it, just like I used to trash. I used to trash the whole field of psychology. I don't do that anymore, but because there's just no need for it, I think I got it out of my system. But yeah, it's trash. It's crap. I think I just passed that stage now and just looking for the ways to implement the model that works. Really, like for Shizzleman as well, because it's already self-destructing. Like people are catching on, and the therapy is becoming the curse word almost, because it's not working. On the rare occasions when it does, it usually does because of somebody's capacity to calibrate consciousness. And by the way, this is what I'm going to be calling it: consciousness calibration. And nobody uses that, and I was thinking how to call it, and it's not, the alchemical hypnotherapy is a little bit too fruity. I bought the domain, but if anybody wants the domain. But anyway, but I think I'm going to call it differently. I think I'm going to call it consciousness calibration, because I was thinking, what the hell is going on? It's not a therapy. It's not a thing. It is really a consciousness calibration process. This one consciousness is showing how to self-calibrate to another. That's basically what it is. It's basically like, hey, look, me calibrating the energy, everything basically, and you basically follow the suit, right? And so the magic of this is that you don't really depend on me. I'm just showing you how to self-calibrate, right? It's a primary skill that is necessary to play this video game, right? But it's not used, and you got to have that game. This is your only weapon against the matrix that works. Otherwise, it will do the rapey on you. It will totally do the rapey on you, because the definition of rape. Do you know what definition of rape is? You'll be surprised, or maybe not. I don't know. Yes, my little cafecito. Look how gangster I heat it up in the cup. Actually, when you apply the heat on the silver, it gets gold. Alchemical, I would say. Don't look at me like that. So yeah, you see what I'm saying? If you see what I'm saying, let me know, because I forgot. I'm in some weird space right now. But it's okay. I'm waiting for the train of thought to come back to me. Okay, let's wait for the train of thought to come back. The waiting. Right. Consciousness calibration. Okay? That's what we're going to call it. And it's a skill that needs to be learned. This is what Krishnamurti, this is why I keep mentioning Krishnamurti. Because he is the one who was teaching this thing. He was basically teaching alchemy, but not using that term, the self-calibration thing, right? And it works on 3 levels. It works on the soul, it works in the mind, and it works in the body. But the first thing you got to learn is how to calibrate in your soul, the feelings, the energy, the feelings, guys, not the emotions yet. Because this is one of the tricks or traps that people trippity bop. Anyway, what the fuck is happening? All right. Okay, so the trap, right? When people work in even in the astral level, the emotions, right? And they change the story, for example, that level, okay, it keeps coming back. Because where it's coming back? It's coming back from the soul, from the imprint. We say like, well, I revised that memory already. Why is it coming back? Because every time cycle, it is reset. This is why like you did revise it, right? And for that particular time cycle, it is now correct and like it's happening, right? But as soon as this time passes by, the new cycle comes along and just poof, and then it changes, and then you have the Cinderella effect, right? It's like, what am I supposed to keep on doing that? Memory revision? Because this is like what just basically just trimming the branch of tree of knowledge. You have not really derooted it at the core level. You see? That's the problem, to go there first. This is why Krishnamurti never went there. But he went and pointed to where you have to go first. Okay? Now, why is that? Because it's like the branches, the leaves are your thoughts, these negative thoughts. The branches are the structure, the circuit of your emotional realm. And then you have the trunk and the root. That is your root cause of everything. That's what you want to go. And that root cause is a feeling, because it goes from the feeling, emotion, thought. It flowers like that, the tree of knowledge, poof, right? And you have a tree of knowledge in your soul, and you're not supposed to have one. You're supposed to have a tree of knowledge in your mind and your body, but not in your soul. Okay, tree of knowledge was a mistake. Or perhaps like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a mistake because it had to happen. Okay, it's just like that's how the video game happens. You grow the tree of knowledge, and technically, what does that mean? That means becoming bad person, like living life in a backwards way. This Babylonian way. But it seems that it's not through no fault of your own. Even though I should say that if the planetary infrastructure, the global infrastructure, is that of the holistics, then everything else within it can just be there because it's you playing it safe. That's something that I would have to say. That's something that must remain in the system first. Until you have that, the system is not stable. Okay? This is why the governing structures is supposed to act as a protectorate, not as a governing structure. Okay, it's super important. Like if you get that principle on the planetary scale, you're golden, because you're gonna have whoever is in charge is actually coming from the holistic point and approach, and you have to have these people in charge. Okay. And yes, it's uncorruptible people. That's what you want. You want the people that are not corruptible. These are the only souls that are supposed to be in charge. Because if you have like corruptible soul in charge, then what the fuck you gonna get, right? You're gonna have the whole infrastructure that is abominable. So this is horrible. But if you take care of that, at least as the first thing, this is what we're trying to do here, everybody, to stabilize the system, is we're going to push these souls that are uncorruptible, which is like, they received the philosopher's stone and whatnot, and they know how to play the game of life, and they would never kind of go back, because perhaps they already been there in positions in charge, whatever that may be. That may be just like, keeping the coherence around the people who are in charge, right? So it's like the council, the real council, right? They may not be directly in charge in the positions of power, but they would be counseling the people who are in power. Maybe that can work, right? Because usually these people who are wise, who are supposed to be in charge, they tend not to want to do the actual front face of it, right? This is why you may need to have a person who's more motivated to function in this, public sphere, but also depend on that tether, right? This is just what comes to mind, how this can work, because it would be very difficult to just create a different group of people who are, taking power. It's more likely that the people who are already playing that game, they like that game. It's just that now they will become playing that game correctly and better, and more towards becoming a protectorate and towards the state, and receiving satisfaction from that end, not the tyrannical way, right? Like, that's what we're trying to do, and I think this is what is skewing towards, take Trump, for example. People like him, hate him, whatever. Like, he's very triggering and catalyzing person, but he is pushing towards that type of, he's playing with fire, but he's doing a good job, I would say. Okay. And people criticize him on making mistakes, like getting the deal with Israel and stuff like that. But I say, don't rush with this guy. Don't conclude. This guy can self-correct. This guy can learn from his mistakes, right? And admit that those mistakes, because I think that Trump is really fascinated at becoming a great leader, whatever that the true definition of the leader is. I think he's super fascinated about that. I think this is how he wants to go down in history, as one of these people. And he makes a mistake. He's still, right? Like, he fell for this trick, and stuff like that. And he may even be, because of his ego side, he may be even influenced and pleased, in all sorts of ways, and have his ego stroked to get the liking of people that does not want that type of positive influence on the world, right? And so they may skew his opinions towards, but that's okay, right? Like, okay, you can say, well, he was manipulated, but now he's becoming aware that he was. That's huge, right? So you want a guy who can learn from his mistakes. He just goes out and do it what makes sense, and then watches what's the feedback. And the feedback is like, oh, all right, this is where I got really fucked over. Okay, this is what's good, And now look, people are like, this echo is always behind, right? And people are saying, oh, the Trump did this, and criticizing. It's like, give it time. Don't rush with this guy, and you'll see. And don't assume what he's going to do either. Like, that's really not a good influence. You see, like, assuming the ego in a person, right? I wouldn't do that. You see, this is why it's like, first of all, you end up making an ass out of you and me, right? If you assume. But yeah, this type of assumption is not the Neville Goddard's assumption. This one does make you into an ass. So you don't want to do that. You kind of also want to learn and understand that you're living in a world of people who can self-correct. And so recognize that, and don't cast people into frozen states, right? Right. Yeah. That's one of the most important things to actually learn, I think, is to see that people can self-correct. They have capacity for self-correct. And actually, if you do have a capacity for self-correct, other people around you that are connected with you will also have the capacity for self-correction. Okay, so yeah. Now, so what do we have here? This thing that's going on in life, right? Now, this is what freaking happens, guys. Guaranteed 100% of the time. When somebody starts playing the game like this and calibration becomes the priority number one, I'm not even going to talk, call it meditation and stuff like that. It's not like that. We have to have another word for it. It is not meditation, because meditation, that word has been tainted as well. Okay? So it's better just to use another word for it. It's alchemy is kind of romantic, but like most modern word that people could understand is a calibration, right? And so if your system is out of calibration, your consciousness is out of calibration, then all the results are going to be there, right? So it's very normal that you would need to encounter somebody who is calibrated, and not only calibrated, but is no longer playing that game of I'm going to just calibrate you, and then you're going to have to come back again to calibrate, like depend on me kind of thing. Does that make sense? I'm not talking about, because there are people like that. The person who is not playing that game anymore. Just, hey, this is how to calibrate it. You can do it a few times and whatnot. Like, you don't need to do more than a few times once you learn that particular skill of self-calibration. Which I just basically pointing to as I'm feeling it, and guiding a person through the process and directing their focus where it needs to be throughout. It's just like, hey, let me show you how to do this. That's it. And then once you learn how to do this, you can do it yourself. And that's what they want to do. So that's why I'm naming it calibration. And we'll see what happens with that. You have to rebrand those things. It's just makes sense. And yeah, like to work as like a new brand or a new term. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a calibration of consciousness. Because it is, right? Like, it's like, you can do that. That's what I'm trying to say. You can do that. And you can talk to somebody and talk about what's going on there, direct the focus, ask the right questions, and you calibrate it, and you calibrate the person all the way to 0 point, that piece. You show them how to get to that point, basically. Right? And of course, there's following skills that now become important. Whereas before, they would be just like a trimming the branches, right? You do it, and it comes back again. You do it, and that's come back again. This is what, like, where a lot of people still stuck there. But I don't know if they're stuck. Maybe it's just the level of the game that they're playing. But they are doing this, whatever, maybe taking psychedelics, and it does align things there at that mental level, at the mind level. And yes, for the time cycle is going to be all right, right? But then the cycle is over, and the feelings come back again, and then these old thoughts come back anew again, right? And so then you go back and do another psychedelic. You see what I'm trying to say? You're not really out of this. You're like at maybe a last step, but you're not out of it. But I don't know, maybe you're not supposed to be out of it. Maybe that's where you're supposed to be functioning, and maybe other people should supposed to take care of that deeper level so that these thoughts don't arise in you. And that's probably more accurate. I think that Yeah, exactly. Like that's one of the things that I used to do, which was like just keeping me in, is having a problem with the people that are in still cyclical type of thing. I think I'm over that as well now. I've been talking about this, criticizing people that they are in that cyclical thing. But now I'm realizing, no, God, let's just leave them there. Maybe they're not supposed to go any deeper. And so let's take care of the deeper layer, and then they will be functioning better at that level. Does that make sense? It's because like, if you have a person in your group, right, and they're at that level of consciousness where they are just basically discovering their memories, their dreams of life, so they could experience them, right? Like they just live at that astral level. And so when the time cycle comes, because they're connected with you, if you keep the coherence, they get the coherence, so they don't even get those negative thoughts because of sort of like your protection, if you will, right? The real protection that makes them to be safe to play the game. And I think this is what it is. This protective layer of these souls that can provide that coherence field. This, like what I'm saying, this is all going to be caught, like the science and the media even will catch up to this point, 100% guaranteed. That's how they're going to realize, like, oh, okay. So they're, okay, like, we need the coherence, whatever that may be. And it comes from people, mainly, as portals through the coherence, the people the alchemists, right? And it'll be like, well, we need some wise men in control of the power, not in power themselves, but in control of the power. Right? That's what's going to happen. Because up to this point, there was not a concept that like you need a truly wise people to be in a protective positions of power. Who are you going to put in power anyway, right? You're not going to put in power somebody who is not is responsible, right? You're going to put in power somebody who is. It just makes sense. But also, why does it make sense, and what do they have that other people don't? And that the coherence of consciousness, the capacity to self-calibrate and calibrate other people. I think this is just, and like I said, some people may not want to go that deep because perhaps they're not supposed to, right? Like they're 4D, 5D soul, and so they're not supposed to push into the 6D. Right? Yeah. But people who are supposed to be, going deep enough on the highest point of alchemy, they already are. They can't help it. They already are experiencing all of these different, distortions, deviations in time as excruciating agonies at first, right? And so, like, if that is happening to you, like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep distracting yourself from it, or are you gonna start facing that thing that's like obviously something's happening, based on time and space, I suppose, that is affecting you tremendously. So you better look there, right? And this is why I said, like, you have like the fiery ones is who live here in these are the fiery souls, and these are infinite souls. These souls are like neutron stars. Neutron star is the most fascinating thing in the universe to me. Like, they don't get enough respect because they are these things that calibrate everything around it. You see that these neutron stars in the center of every black hole is the organizing principle of everything. Do you understand? This is the engine, the nuclear engine that never ends, that keeps the universe running. Okay. And so when you alchemizing and when you get to these type of frequencies, vibrations, you're in tune with the center of the galaxy, basically. Okay. And so you're channeling that center of the galaxy organizing principle into whatever the fuck you are. Okay. So you're bringing the infinite within temporal. That's what you're doing. And infinite within temporal rejuvenates things because time degrades over time, right? Time degrades. And so it needs to be rejuvenated, and only infinity can rejuvenate the time and time-space once more and again, right? I mean, as I'm saying, this is like a kindergarten would understand. Cafecito. I make cafecito with meal, with honey. And it's a 3 different type of beans. Yeah, and I keep it cool. And so it works. Cheers. Consciousness calibration. It's all right, you know, like it's not bad. I don't know, sometimes like I go through phases where I'm beefy and little slim. To me, this is like a slim shady phase. Anyway. All right. Enough of this. So what I've been saying, guys, right? Consciousness calibration. So there, I mean, basically I described what the fuck is going on, what is important, and everything else is just the echoes. You see what I'm trying to say? This is why, like, I was so frustrated with, like, why these people don't see, but they will not. Like, they're good as they are. Just give them a protective, infrastructure and environment, and they're gonna be good. Give them wrong infrastructure, they're gonna be bad. But they're always gonna be trying to do the same thing, and they will only be able to do it at the level of the quality that they are, right? So of course it just makes sense. And whenever that protectorate established, this is exactly what's going on right now. This protectorate is being established, and when it's established, then all these souls already going to be coherent, and they won't even have these thoughts, drives that were just a problem before. Okay, so there. And so you have those 3 levels, like, again, this guy, Alan Watts, I think he said that there are 3 types of souls: hyalic, psychic, and what's the other one? Pneumatic. So pneumatic is that 5th, 6th density soul. Then you have the psychic, which is the 5th, 4th density soul, and then you have the 4th, 3rd density soul. That's hyalic. They call them wooden people. When they're not wooden, they're not really wooden, of course, but they're just mechanical level, right? But they may be like already sprouting towards 4D. This is why I said I mentioned them not as like 3D, because if you say somebody's 3D, you freeze them in there. So I'm not going to say 3D, 4D, 5D, or 6D, but I'm going to say there are 3 types. Between the 3D and 4D, hyalic, between the 4D and 5D, psychic, and then between the 5D and 6D, and that is pneumatic. Okay? That's what I would say. That knowledge will also be recognized as part of the society, and they will be perfectly fine with somebody being, But you see, the difference is that it will be actually like this. Right now it's all fictitiously, but it's actually going to be like this. The wise person's going to be the actual wise person and not the one pretends to be. So anyway, so you'll always have these three levels of souls, and the society will recognize it as like, oh, these are this type of person, this is this type of person, and everybody will know who they are. And obviously they may not even need to know who they are. It's just going to be sectioned like this naturally, not because you say so. So it's going to be, okay, what this person is doing, what did this person like. And so, okay, this is the pattern. That's the 3D, 4D person. What this person is doing, what this person is like. Okay, this is 4D and 5D. And what the fuck is this mofo is doing? Okay, this is 5D, 6D. Okay? So you'll know based on their interests, occupations, and lifestyles of what are they. You already can say that, but it's just going to be accepted as part of the society. Anyway, which right now it's not, and that's maybe not a good idea, because like even I get caught in this of trying to pull them out of there and saying that like, oh no, you're supposed to be one level higher. Maybe they're not supposed to be one level higher. If you just keep them where they're at and just be happy with that. But look what's going on. What happens then? Like if you start having the society like that, when the infinity is being brought, this is what happens. The civilization goes from, type 1 or to type 2 or whatever that nomenclature says, but it becomes multidimensional, intergalactic, and that is whenever you can move in whatever way from one time space to another. And so that happens first in consciousness, and people can astral travel to one point to another, which is a type of skill that needs to be developed, at least in my case. But there's that realization that it's there. I, in my personal experience, I just briefly touched on this. I basically saw how it works, but briefly, not enough for me to be satisfied of and say that well, I've explored it fully. No, I'm not satisfied with that exploration, but I already saw how it works and how there are all potential pasts and all potential futures. And they're like these little memory gems, that you have to just go into the abyss and pull out that pearl, right? And so every time you pull out that pearl, okay, that's the life story that you're going to be living now. Okay? And so you keep on hunting those pearls. Like if the if the philosopher's stone is that coherence generating field, and it's like one, then your memories are these like flowers or pearls, many. Okay, they are many. And you want to pull them out. See, this is another way of explaining that mind astral reality, where what is really going on there, just to make it simple, like not to complicate things. And simply what it is, it's, and through the experience, what you're trying to do, like for example, if you don't know what you're doing with your mind, then you'll be like kind of, but if you know what you're doing is you are tuning and finding that memory. That's what you do. That's all you do. You're tuning and finding that memory that you want to live. It is there already. It is a memory that in the chronological perspective, through your logical mind, it is seen as something that's going to happen in the future. But through your dream state logic, it's not like that. It is a memory. You just pick that memory. And again, I think there are 56 of them based on that little model that I have. And 56 are the nightmare versions, and 56 dream come true versions. Okay, and so that's what we do. We dive for these pearls to find that memory that we want to live. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, for example, okay, what kind of life do I want to live in the next foreseeable future? And so that's the dream that you want to tune to. And so, like, which dream do you prefer? Like, vote for it, basically. You know, maybe that's the best way of looking at it, is saying, like, what is not definitely going to happen, because then that premature certainty may fuck you over a little bit, because then I think that premature certainty does that. It is arrogance, I think. It might be. Because there's this, like, okay, so I've picked up that memory and experienced that memory in my mind and my actual imagination, reality. Okay, cool, now it has to come. And it's usually almost like a rule of thumb. I don't know if it's true, but it comes in as like a messed up version. Right? And so, but if you were set on that, definitely manifesting that, you may have that type of emotional despair over there, right? Be like, okay, yeah, that's not exactly it. But if you don't have that premature certainty and you're just enjoying those memories, right? And if something happens in your life that you're like, well, this is sort of like not the original version of the story, you're like, that's all right. You keep on preferring that memory anyway, right? That's the type of like nonchalant that you want to have. But this is like a very engaged way of living, very engaged. And that's how it's supposed to be. This is like another level after you know how to calibrate your soul. Now you need to know how to calibrate your mind, kind of thing, right? Fascinating stuff. And so you're picking these memories that you want to live. And your dreams, these are your dreams. And you're diving into the so-called abyss to pick them up. You know, you can name it any way you want. Like maybe you're watering your tree of life, you know, and these are the flowers and turning into the fruit, right? So, but there's also the physical world that you do need to have some skills in order. You see what I'm trying to say? But there's not a big deal anymore. Like this, if you live your life from the soul, then you do your job in the mind, and then you in the body. It's easy in the body. It's not does not mean that you don't have to take any kind of effort and you know, no, they're still there, but it's easy. And I wouldn't say effortless. You know, people sometimes like, oh, it's effortless. No, it just doesn't feel like effortless, but it's like effort little, you know, because your body needs a little bit of effort, right? Like if you want your muscles to be strong, you got to go against the resistance. So this is why the might is about that. It's about will. It's about, you know, well-placed will, right? And it does happen. Like, for example, the more, like, for example, when you don't want to exercise, right? And it's like, I don't want to, but like I have to go and stuff like that, right? So what happens when you go there anyway and start working out? You get all this energy, you know, and so everything's fine like, again. And it's like, oh fuck, thank God I went, because now look at all this energy. Because where did energy coming from? It came from the friction, not fusion. So this is why body, it's fine to work on the friction. A little bit of friction is fine. Does that make sense? But a little bit. Just to keep that body going, because body works on action, you know, and so if you keep the body in action, then it's going to feed on itself and make more action, kind of thing, right? And it is also the third type of calibration, where you gotta calibrate your action. Like, what is the next action to take, right? And every time you're gonna take that action, there's gonna be a little bit of that resistance, but you can tune to that through that resistance, or like decode it, even like, you know, compute your way through it, if you will. right? You can compute your way through it as well. You see, look, you have one poof idea, you know, or one potential action to do, and then you can put through your computational capacities to see what's up, and then you get your answer of what action to take, and so on. So that's the whole shebang bang. And everything else is not important. And it's a distraction. Oh, by the way, about this word, therapy. When I said what the rape means, actually, the rape means is every time you take any kind of movement that is not in your soul's desire. You kind of, this is like a type of selling type of your soul, but also every time somebody steers you away from it, that is the sin. That's what sin happens. And it's also a type of yourself rapey. It's a little rapey. That's what it is. Because that going that way was a violation of your true free will. Okay, but it seems that we have to go that way. I think we have to go to learn. You know? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, you have to get completely and totally kind of almost lost in order to save yourself. This is what it was, man. This is what it is. That's the difference. When you can get lost so completely in it, that then when only the infinite can save you because you're so freaking deep into that shit, then it's you get to learn the entire lesson because you got lost so much shit, you know. And this is what happened to me as well. I went all in, and I went all in on like the wrongest thing ever, you would say. Making like the biggest mistake. That's how at least it appears, that you're making that biggest mistake where it just freaking takes you to the edge of life, and that's the only way out. It's hardcore shit, by the way, you know, this thing. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that not everybody would do that, and not everybody is so intense, and this is what people sometimes call, like, you know, the intense. That's the word that they use. But that's where we live. What the fuck do you want from us? So there's that fiery souls, and then there are the shining ones, the fiery ones, the shining ones, and then I don't know how you call the gold, the silver, and the bronze. By the way, that's what it is. Golden souls, silver souls, and the bronze souls. That symbolism is already there. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. It is a recognition of the age of the soul. That's what it is. Okay? And it's not a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy, of course, but it's a type of benevolent hierarchy that doesn't rule but helps. It's the hierarchy of responsibility rather than tyranny. Right? And this needs to be accepted as a fact of life. Through obvious merit. Alright, guys. I'm running out of time. I mean, I have plenty of time. I have all the time in the world. But there's a limit on my phone, so. Bye bye. 3, 2, 1.